You were sitting next to me with your hair tied back, talking about things you'd probably forget by tomorrow. I wasn't listening to every word. I was thinking how good it felt to be there with you. We were too young to understand what moments meant, so we let the evening keep going. When the night was ours, I didn't want it to end. You were laughing beside me, your hand resting in mine. For a little while, nothing felt complicated. I wish I could go back without changing a thing. You asked me what I wanted someday. I gave you some answer I don't remember now. You smiled and said you'd probably change your mind too. Maybe we both did. There was so much we didn't know. Maybe that's why it felt so real. When the night was ours, we stayed awake too long, talking about people we'd become and places we'd never seen. I didn't know I was gonna miss those conversations. I thought there'd always be another night. If I could have known, I would have looked at you a little longer. I would have remembered the sound of your laugh. I would have stayed when you said it was getting late. When the night was ours, we were just two kids trying to understand love. We didn't know how quickly everything would change, but I remember you exactly as you were. And sometimes that's enough. I wish we had one more night. I barely knew your favorite song. I didn't know how you took your coffee. I didn't know what made you nervous. Somehow I was already looking for your name on my phone. Maybe I should have taken my time. I never was very good at that. I think I fell for you too fast. Before I knew where this was going, I started saving little things you said without even noticing. I think I fell for you too fast. childhood once. I remembered every little detail. You probably forgot the conversation. I didn't. I like the way you looked away when you talked about yourself. Maybe I'm getting ahead of us. Maybe you feel it too. I think I fell for you too fast. Now every song sounds a little different. I see your face in places I never used to live. I think I fell for you too fast. But if this is a mistake, I don't want to fix it haven't known each other long enough to call this anything. But when you leave, I already notice the room feels different. I think I fell for you too fast. Maybe that's just what happens when you're young. You don't wait for the right moment. You just feel it. I think I fell for you too fast. And if you feel it too, maybe we can take our time from here. Don't disappear yet. Don't disappear yet. Don't disappear yet. Don't disappear yet. You came over in July with your hair still wet from the rain. We stayed inside until the afternoon was almost gone. You found an old photograph and asked who I was when it was taken. I said I couldn't remember. You laughed and took another one. We had the whole summer in front of us. We didn't know how quickly it would disappear. You were my favorite part of summer. The days were longer when you were around. We stayed up talking until we couldn't keep our eyes open. I didn't know I'd miss those days this much. We bought cheap ice cream and shared the last one. You said mine tasted better. I let you have it anyway. There were things I wanted to tell you. I kept waiting for the right moment. Maybe there was never a right moment. Maybe we were just too young to notice. together. See you again. You were my favorite part of summer, and maybe that's why I remember it so well. Not because everything was perfect, it's because for a little while I was exactly where I wanted to be. I hope you remember it too. You said you were tired, I told you to stay. We didn't have anything left to talk about. You lay beside me and watched the ceiling. I listened to your breathing. The room was getting quiet. Neither of us wanted to say goodnight. Stay until we fall asleep. You don't have to say a word. Just stay close for a little while. Let the night take care of the rest. Stay until we fall asleep. I don't want this moment to end. You asked if I remembered the first time we met. I said I did, you said you didn't. I laughed and pulled the blanket over you. We were talking about nothing again. I could have listened all night. Stay until we fall asleep. Leave the light on if you want. I like seeing you when you're almost dreaming. Stay until we fall asleep. Tomorrow can wait until morning. Maybe isn't always something you say. Maybe sometimes it's just staying when you could leave. Stay until we fall asleep. Let me hear your breathing again. You don't have to promise me anything. Just stay close until the morning. Good night. Good night. Good night. Good night. I still have your old messages. I don't read them every day. They're somewhere at the bottom of my phone, between things I forgot to delete. Sometimes I find one and smile before I remember when it was written. We were so certain there would always be another conversation. I still have your old messages, your jokes, your late night thoughts, the things you said when you couldn't sleep. I don't keep them because I'm waiting. I just can't bring myself to erase that version of us. You used to send me songs without saying why. I'd listen alone and try to guess. I probably got it wrong most of the time. You never corrected me. Funny how a few words can bring back an entire year. I know the conversation ended a long time ago, but sometimes I scroll too far and find you again, exactly the way you used to be. Maybe I'll delete them one day when they feel like someone else's life. Not tonight. I still have your old messages, and maybe that's okay. Some things don't need to be carried forever. They just need a place to stay until you're ready to let them go. I remember that one. We stayed out way too late just because we could. You stole my jacket and never gave it back. We spent 20 minutes trying to find somewhere that was still open, then gave up and sat on the floor outside your house. We didn't think about tomorrow. We didn't have to. We were young and didn't know better. We thought every summer would last forever. We said we'd stay close no matter where we went. I wonder if you remember how certain we were. We were young and didn't know better. Maybe that's why it felt so good. You called me too, just to tell me you couldn't sleep. I walked outside so we could talk without waking anyone. You laughed at something I don't remember now. I remember wanting the conversation to keep going. We had no idea how quickly things could change. We were young and didn't know better. We made promises we couldn't understand. We thought growing up wouldn't change us. We were probably wrong, but I wouldn't take those days back. Maybe we were careless. Maybe we were lucky. Maybe being young was enough to make everything feel possible. We were young and didn't know better. We loved like we had forever. And even though we didn't keep every promise, I still remember how it felt to believe them. I miss who we were. I saw your name in an old conversation. I almost wrote to you. Then I remembered how long it's been. Funny how one little thing can bring someone back so quickly. I don't want to start anything. I just wonder sometimes. I wonder if you ever miss me. Not enough to come back. Just that song you used to play. I forgot how much you loved it. For a moment I could almost hear you singing along. Then it ended. I guess some memories don't ask permission, they just show up. I wonder if you ever miss me when you're lying awake and everyone else is asleep. Do you ever remember the things we said, the plans we made when we were younger? Maybe you don't, maybe you've moved on without looking back. I think I'm okay with that. I just wanted to know if I ever cross your mind. I wonder if you ever miss me, even for a moment. Not because I want the past to return, I just hope some part of it meant something to you. I hope you're doing well. I used to think I had to be different for someone to stay. I learned how to hide the parts of me I didn't like. Then you came along and never asked me to change. You listen when I talk too much. You stayed when I had nothing interesting to say. You made me feel like I was enough, just the way I was. You to be myself around you. You made me feel like I was enough, and I hope you knew what you gave me. Even if we couldn't stay together, I'll always be grateful for the way you saw me. I could be myself with you. If I could go back to that summer, I'd take the long way home with you again. I'd listen to the stories I'd heard 100 times. I'd laugh at the same jokes. I'd let the afternoon disappear. We didn't know we were living through something we'd remember. If I could go back to that summer, I wouldn't change a thing. I'd just stay a little longer when you asked me to. I'd hold your hand a little tighter. I'd look at you like I knew how much it meant. We thought we had so much time. We talked about where we'd go, who we'd become, who we'd love. Neither of us knew how different we'd look a few years later. I wonder if you ever think about those days. If I could go back to that summer, I'd find you exactly where you were. I'd sit beside you and say nothing. I'd let the silence last as long as it wanted. I wouldn't ask what happened next. I wouldn't ask if we'd stay together for one night. I'd just be young again. If I could go back to that summer, I'd tell you you were important. Not because we lasted forever, because for a little while you made growing up feel less frightening. I'd go back just to see you smile. it without thinking. You were talking about the life you'd have someday. I was trying to imagine where I'd fit into it. Neither of us really knew. Maybe we weren't supposed to know. Maybe being young was the whole point. Maybe we were meant to be young, to love without knowing how long it would last, to believe every promise because we wanted to. Maybe we were meant to have that summer, that version of us before everything became complicated. I still remember how easily you laughed, how we could spend an entire afternoon doing almost nothing. We didn't need a reason to stay, we just stayed. Years later, I understand what we couldn't see. Some things are beautiful because they don't stay. Maybe we were meant to be young, to have something we couldn't keep, to grow apart without knowing it was happening. Maybe that's why I still think of you when I remember who I used to be. I don't wish we had stayed the same. I don't wish the years away. I just hope somewhere in your life you remember how happy we were. Maybe we were meant to be young. Maybe that was enough. We loved each other with everything we knew. We lost each other with everything we did. I wouldn't change the way it happened. I'd only stay a little longer. Maybe that was the beauty.